In this video, I'm going to go over the required and recommended gear for this program, as well as talk about how to choose what type of gear that you're going to pick. Now, I want to note here that you do not need to bring your gear to the first day of class. We're just going to be going over orientation stuff on day one. However, we are going to be likely spawning salmon, which means that you'll be using your gear in the second week of class. So preferably try to have all of your required gear by week 2 of the quarter. However, if you're having trouble ordering gear, if something's on back order, if you're not sure what to buy, it's okay if you don't have your gear by week 2. Just make sure you talk to myself, Sarah, or Brittany about it, and we'll try and troubleshoot with you. Some of this gear is specialty. It can be sometimes hard to find or out of stock, and we totally understand that. So again, try and have your gear by week 2 so you can participate and start learning how to spawn fish. If you're running into snags, talk to myself or Brittany and we'll help walk you through it. So this is a list of required and recommended gear for this program. As a reminder, we are a cohort program, so that means you're going to be starting in the fall, taking the same series of classes with the same students, and you're going to have myself or Brittany for all of your aqua classes, so everything except for math, communications, and English you'll have with Brittany and I. So I know it seems like a lot of gear to buy up front, but you're going to be using this gear throughout the next 2 years in the program. So it's investment, but you won't have to buy much in the upcoming quarters. So I'll go through these one by one, starting with textbooks. Again, cohort program, we're going to be using textbooks in multiple classes. This quarter, fall quarter, you guys need to buy the Introduction to the Biology of Marine Life. You're going to be using that throughout your first year in the program. Next quarter, winter quarter, many of your classes are going to be using the Aquaculture Science textbook, so you'll need to purchase that textbook next quarter. In terms of where to buy them from, both of these textbooks are available at the BTC bookstore. However, I will say it's probably cheaper if you look online. You can buy these on Amazon. Just make sure that you get the correct edition. So the 11th edition of Biology of Marine Life and the 3rd edition of Aquaculture Science. Other equipment that you'll need this fall include a dissection kit, shown down here. So this is available at the BTC bookstore, but again, you can purchase this online if you'd like. If you do decide to purchase it online, make sure that it has at least a scalpel, scissors, and tweezers. Preferably for the tweezers, try and find some that have, they're shown here, that have a little bent tip. It makes it a lot easier to extract scales and otoliths, which we're going to be doing this quarter. Spawning knives, they look like this. We're going to be using them for spawning salmon. They're available. You can find them online. They also have them at the bookstore. You need to get at least 2 because they get dull. They're cheap, just a couple dollars each. Write in the Rain notebook shown here, you'll also need. So Write in the Rain is a special type of paper that doesn't, you can write in the rain on it. So when it gets wet, you can still write on it, which is important in our industry because we're often working in and around water and outdoors. You could really get any style that you'd like. They come in different sizes. I would recommend considering getting a smaller one that can fit into your pocket or the pouch of your chest waders, just because it's easier to be able to stash it away. And then, and with the Write in the Rain notebooks too, they try and sell you like this Write in the Rain pen. You don't need it. You can just use pencil on Write in the Rain. It works just fine. And then lastly, you'll also need cotton gloves. So these are not the cotton gloves that you get at like Fred Meyer's for cold weather. These are cotton gloves for fisheries. They're textured and it makes it so that you can handle fish easier. We're going to be using these not as much for handling live fish, but for handling fish carcasses because it just makes it a lot easier to grab a slimy fish. They're cheap. They're a couple bucks. You can buy them at the bookstore. But again, you can also buy them online. I'd recommend getting at least a few pairs because once you wear them once, they get pretty fishy and stinky. So you typically don't want to wear them a whole bunch of times without washing them. So I'd recommend getting at least 2 or 3 pairs. Chest waders are one of the bigger purchase items that you're going to be using a lot in this program. So definitely you will need chest waders. The idea behind waders is that there's an outside layer that's waterproof. You're going to be inside the waders and dry inside the waders, hopefully, unless you have a hole in your waders. But the idea is that you'll be dry inside your waders. And this is going to keep you not only dry, but also warm. So essential. You do need chest waders, not hip waders. Sometimes they sell hip waders that go up to your legs. That's not going to cut it in the ponds. We're going to be going in deeper than that. Also, there's a lot of splashing. Definitely need chest waders. There's different types of chest waders you can buy. Depends on personal preference. So you can buy the ones that have the boots attached, shown here on the left, or you can buy the ones that have the boots separate, shown here on the right. So the ones that have the boots separate, they have the stocking foot here. This is a neoprene. It's a waterproof, but it's kind of like a sock material. You definitely need the boots. This is going to be too soft. It doesn't have a sole on it. So it's up to you, personal preference. The boots attached tend to be a little bit cheaper. They're also nice because it's easier to put your waders on and take them off. So it's kind of convenient for working in the hatchery when you have to just throw your waders on really fast just for a minute to get in the ponds. However, they don't provide a lot of ankle support and they typically have poorer traction. These are really designed for working in a hatchery environment. In the springtime, we're going to be walking around streams a lot. So if you have a need for ankle support, maybe you have bad knees, maybe you have bad balance and you just want a little more traction, you might want to opt for the boots detached. They provide a little bit more support. It's more of like a shoe type, like a normal hiking boot. But again, personal preference. I tend to prefer the ones with the boots separate. Brittany likes the ones with the boots attached, so it's just up to you guys. And beyond that, you can also choose what type of material you want. So there's neoprene, nylon, and breathable. Nylon and neoprene are not breathable, so that means that if you're sweaty inside your waders, it's just going to like hold the sweat in. You're not going to be able to like breathe. The sweat's not going to be able to evaporate. Also, it tends to build up moisture even if you're not sweaty because you just give off moisture as a human being. And that can a lot of times build up inside your waders. Breathable waders, like the name implies, breathe. And so if you get sweaty in your waders, it will kind of allow some of that moisture to escape without allowing water to get in. Nylon and neoprene waders are cheaper. Breathable waders are more expensive. The difference between nylon and neoprene is that nylon is just a thin waterproof layer that keeps you dry but doesn't really provide any sort of insulation to keep you warm. They're also not stretchy at all. Neoprene waders are thicker. They also keep you dry on the inside and tend to also keep you warmer. They're also stretchier, so they can be a little bit comfier if you have, longer legs or a need to have a little bit more give in your waders. I will say if you tend to run warm, the neoprene waders are pretty hot in the springtime when we're out in the stream. So if you're someone that runs really warm, you might want to opt for nylon waders. Breathable waders, if you have breathable waders, you can definitely wear them. I would not recommend them for right off the bat for buying them this fall because although they're very comfy, breathable waders are also more expensive and they're also more delicate. In the fall, especially, we're going to be working around a lot of fish that have pokey teeth and pokey spines. It's really easy to get a hole ripped in your nice breathable waders. That said, if you already have breathable waders or you're just like, I really, really don't want to set in my sweaty waders, I want something breathable, you can opt for breathable waders if you like. You just have to be careful to wear your rain bibs over top of your breathable waders when you're working in the pond so that you don't destroy them. Most students, I would say, opt for either the nylon or the neoprene. That said, I actually opt for the breathable waders. I just wear rain bibs over mine because I'm kind of a wader snob and I don't like to be all like sweaty inside my waders. So again, it's kind of just up to you guys. And then lastly, you can choose the sole of your wading boot. So this goes for the waders with the boots detached, as shown here, as well as the waders with the boots attached. I just showed the boots detached here, for example. So you can get felt soles or you can get rubber soles. Felt soles are going to give you more traction. They have felt on the bottom. These are really great for walking in streams. Definitely better for if you're walking on slippery rocks that are covered in algae. They just provide really great traction. Rubber soles are more like the bottom of like a normal boot. Most of these are specially formulated for walking in aquatic for wet environments. They provide good traction, but not as good as felt soles. That said, though, I would recommend you get the rubber soles for this program because you're going to be wearing your waders in the ponds. And when you're in the ponds, especially with the juvenile fish, you have to shuffle when you walk, otherwise you trample the fish. And that shuffling wears down felt soles really fast. So if you have felt soles, they're going to wear out really fast. That's why I'd recommend rubber soles. The one thing, though, is that if you are someone that has balance issues or you feel like really uncomfortable walking in a stream, in that situation, you might want to opt for felt soles just because they do provide you more stability when you're walking in the streams because they're grippier. But if you opt for felt soles, just be aware that they might wear down faster than the rubber soles. You're also going to need rain gear, so you'll need rain bibs and also a rain coat. I would recommend, I am showing orange here, so it's probably giving you the wrong idea, but if possible, I would recommend getting like a dark green color instead of an orange or a yellow color. Some people think that the orange or yellow scares the fish when they're in the ponds. I'm not really sure if it does, but that's what I've heard from other hatchery managers. So if possible, try and get like a dark green color or like a darker natural color. So for this, you'll need the bibs, the overalls, as well as a rain coat top. These are not the same thing as you buy, like it's not like a Gore-Tex raincoat that you'd buy at REI or anything like that. These are like thick fisherman's gear. They're made out of PVC. They're very, very thick plastic. They're going to not only protect you from rain, but they're also going to protect you from spiky fish fins and spiky fish teeth. Grendons are like the nicest one that you can get. I have one that I always forget the name of. It's like parallel 55 or like latitude 45. I don't know. I'll link it down below, but I've been using those for years and they work out fine. So Grendons are really, really nice, but don't feel like you have to invest a ton in buying top of the line. I've been using the cheaper kind for years. They hold up great. Muck boots. Muck boots you're going to be wearing a lot in this program. So when you're not actually in the ponds working, when you're just in the hatchery working, you're probably going to be just wearing muck boots. These are going to keep your feet dry in situations where you don't necessarily need like your entire body to be dry, just your feet because you're working around water on the hatchery floor. Extra tufts are really the industry standard. If you have the financial means to invest in extra tufts, I would highly recommend them. They last for a long time. They're going to serve you well. You can definitely buy cheaper ones, but just be aware that they might give out and you might need to repurchase them later in the program. Muck Boot Company is another good one. These ones have a neoprene calf. So if you have larger calves, you might want to opt for one that looks like this versus the extra tufts. These ones tend to have a pretty slender calf on them. You want to buy them fairly snug. So they shouldn't be like cutting off your circulation or anything like that, but we're going to be wearing muck boots primarily in the spring when we're working out in the tide flats for shellfish farming tours. And the mud is very, very sticky. And if you have boots that are loose, you're going to lose your boot in the mud, which happens probably at least once every year, but to one student. But maybe if you listen to this, it won't happen to you. So just make sure that you're not buying something that's super loose. What I'd recommend is buying a size that's comfy with a thinner sock, but then you can wear a thick sock and have it be like snug, like you can't pull it off your foot. That's kind of the size that you're looking for. If you're having trouble finding something that fits tight enough, there's other tricks in the springtime. You can also wrap like duct tape around your ankle when you go out in the tide flats. So try and find something that's snug, but don't stress out about it too much. You're also going to need a personal flotation device, PFD, which is basically a life vest. Type 3 is the best. That's just a general life vest. This one on the left is going to be probably one of the better options. I would say try and find one that has like the mesh straps on the shoulders, just because it's going to be a lot comfier to wear when you're wearing a backpack, stuff like that. One in the middle like this, that's fine too. The one that's shown on the right here, this is one that has an automatic inflation. So the way this works is that if you fall into the water and it detects water on the water sensor, it'll automatically inflate. There's also a pull tab down below that you can manually inflate. I would probably not recommend the the automatic inflation one, because if you fall in the water, it's going to inflate, and then you have to buy like a new inflation cartridge, and it's also embarrassing. That said, though, they are much comfier to wear with the backpacks, and just in general, they're not as bulky. So it's kind of up to you. If you want to risk it and you feel okay with, if you accidentally fall in, it's going to auto-inflate in front of the whole class, that's, it's up to you. I personally just risk it and usually just wear one that looks like this just because it's so much comfier. But again, it's a risk. So if you're not super confident in your ability to not fall in the water, you might want to opt for one that looks like this. So polarized glasses, these are recommended, not required. However, they're really nice. They cut through the glare of the water, and so it really does make a difference. It makes it a lot easier to see fish. This is going to help during spawning. It's going to help when we're doing fish capture in the spring. You can buy like a cheap pair from Fred Meyer's for $10, but they're really nice, highly recommended. Other recommended gear that's not required, some students like to wear these neoprene sleeves. These are really nice for when you're spawning fish in the fall because it can often be cold. We're going to be reaching our whole arm in the water, and these will keep your arms warmer. Also, a padlock. We do have a locker room in the Perry Center that you can stash your gear, and it's nice to have a padlock to put on it just to secure your stuff. That said, we've never had any theft problems so far in the program, but would also say that a lot of you guys tend to have the same gear, so we have had some problems with gear mix-up where someone's wearing someone else's gear on accident. So I would recommend having a padlock just so that you can stash your gear away and no one else accidentally wears it.